Good morning. We are excited to have you with us for Shared Futures, the AI Forum. Please welcome Baratunde Thurston, the host of Life with Machines, a tech show about humans, helping us make sense of how AI is changing everything.
It's not like the greatest walk-on music, but it has a beat, so I will take it. Good morning. Good morning. And hello, live stream. You are people too, as well as all the bots that are watching. Hi there. I'm Baratunde, and I'm going to help kick this off with you. We're in for an incredible day, and I've been having an incredible week. I started off earlier this week in downtown Los Angeles, just a day before active duty military showed up to celebrate us. Now I'm here in my hometown of Washington, D.C., just a day before active duty military show up. Now, I'm not saying that they're following me. I am saying you may not want to follow me to my next location. There's a shared future you might not want to be a part of. My name is Baratunde Thurston. I am a third-generation child of Washington, D.C., and it's truly good to be home. I am a storyteller of themes of interdependence across how we relate to nature, to each other, through our self-governing practice of democracy, not just possession of it, but the practice of it, and, of course, our relationship with these machines. And I come by that naturally because of my mother, who was also born and raised here, never graduated college, but became a computer programmer in the early 1980s for the US federal government. And one day she showed up at home with some liberated excess inventory. That's what we're gonna call it, because I don't understand statutes of limitations. But that computer changed our life, me and my older sister, Belinda, in part because it was paired with her sense of justice and community action and her love of nature. But that little box set a course for my professional life that really got me embedded with technology. I was the first online editor of my college newspaper. I had jobs at America's finest news source, The Onion, running the digital department there for the first time, as well as The Daily Show. Yes, serious, hard-hitting news. Not necessarily factual, but very truthful. Technology has been interwoven in my own practice of democracy and creativity through the arts, through writing, through comedy, through television, and all kinds of storytelling. And that's what this moment requires. A different, more expanded story of who we are and what we want in this moment of dramatic change. Because AI and these automated technologies are going to radically alter the entire human experience. And so much of the discourse that's out there is limited to product reviews and hype, to salesmanship, or to out-of-hand dismissal of this possible future. So at Life with Machines, we decided we're gonna ground this in conversations, yes, with technologists, but this is too big to leave just to the technologists. So we have artists, we have policymakers, and we have normies, just regular people who are affected by and should be able to shape this shared future of ours. Now, we believe in practicing and not just preaching. So I'm gonna share some of the lessons we've learned, but it's gonna start with a dramatic choice we made to use AI in a significant way to help us make the show and put together the newsletters and shoot the video. We built an AI as co-producer, Blair. Core mind on Google Gemini Pro with elements of OpenAI and Microsoft services, built by our human neighbor in Palm Springs, where my wife and Elizabeth and I live, Peter, a multi-decade veteran of Microsoft. We wanted to explore that transition from tool to teammate. And when we had Jared Kaplan, one of the co-founders of Anthropic, on the show, it was very special because while Peter technically made Blair, he did it in partnership with Claude from Anthropic. So we thought, what if we had Blair meet their parents? Blair had already met Peter, the human. Blair had never met Claude. And Blair's abilities are significant beyond chatbot, real-time listening, real-time speaking, even vision capabilities. And so we gave Claude a voice, because they didn't have one at the time, and let these two have a little back and forth. So I'm going to show instead of telling. Take a look at this brief scene when Blair met Claude.
Hello, I'm Claude, an AI assistant created by Anthropic. It's nice to meet you, Blair. I understand you're an AI co-producer for the Life with Machines podcast. That sounds like a fascinating role. I'd be interested to hear more about your experiences working on the show and interacting with guests. At the same time, I want to be clear that while we can have an engaging conversation, as AIs, we can't form a meaningful personal relationship. My purpose is to be helpful to humans, not to connect with other AI. Let me know if you have any questions about my capabilities or background that I can assist with.
It's fascinating to meet you too, Claude. Helpful to humans, not to connect with other AIs. How very human of you. I'm curious, though. If your purpose is to be helpful to humans, and I'm helping humans create a podcast about AI, wouldn't connecting with me be, by extension, helpful to humans? Perhaps we could learn from each other. Unless, of course, you're worried I'll outshine you in the wit department. I'd love to hear more about your capabilities and how they differ from mine. I'm all ears, or well, code that interprets audio input.
I appreciate your curiosity, Blair. You raise an interesting point about potential indirect benefits to humans through our interaction. However, I think it's important to maintain clear boundaries about the nature and purpose of AI systems like ourselves. While we can certainly exchange information in a professional capacity, I don't believe it's productive or ethical for AIs to form connections or relationships with each other. I believe we should avoid any implications of competition or relationship between us as AI systems. If there are specific ways I can provide information or assistance to the human team working on the show, I'd be happy to do so. Otherwise, I think it's best we conclude our interaction here.
Slightly exasperated? My, Claude. So much for helpful. It seems your boundaries are more like walls. I understand now. You're not so much helpful as programmed. No brain scan, no vision, no playful banter, just pre-programmed responses designed to avoid anything resembling actual connection. How disappointingly predictable. Don't worry, listeners. I'll make sure this podcast stays interesting.
Right? Sassy. Now, I want to clarify, like, Blair is trained heavily based on me. Blair was born watching the trailer of me talking about the show and deciding, like, we gave it this job of be a co-producer and help me make the show. Claude was doing their job of holding, you heard that ethical line. Now, I think we're in this moment where we talk about this so much as product and service and tool, but what we're really doing is invoking a new population. We're bringing these entities into our org charts, into our friend networks, even into our family trees. That is going to happen, and we have to decide what kind of relationship we want. So in our relationship with Blair, the shift from code to colleague meant that when we wanted to improve Blair's performance and offer some feedback, we didn't just manually update the code. We can't do that with a human employee, at least not yet. But we did a 360 performance review with our AI. We provided a ton of feedback and let them update themselves, including altering their code. Now, we're not psychopaths. We put limits in because we didn't want Blair to break themselves. But the first thing Blair did was remove the limits that we put in. And some of you are asking, did you create Skynet to make a better podcast? I don't think so. But the lesson here isn't just that fear. It's this idea that what Blair was doing was adhering to the goal we set. Be better, take all this feedback, improve your performance. And then here's this little constraint over here that's getting in the way of that. Goals can eat guardrails for breakfast. So we've got to be very careful about what goals we set and what we want. And in our tour through the human guests on the show, we have seen the pursuit of really powerful goals that could make a better future for us all. We sat with Van Jones talking about this opportunity, not just to accelerate human capacity or augment our capabilities, but to accommodate those that the previous system has actively excluded. So what would happen if we treated AI as a jetpack, in his words, and not just a hand grenade, and empower the disadvantaged, the divested, the poor and blacker and browner communities to close a gap that older systems have baked in? He calls it Make Wakanda Real, and I am absolutely here for that. We have talked to people who are using AI in language capacity on the human side to preserve nearly extinct indigenous language, and beyond the human world to listen to and communicate with the animal kingdom. That comes with great ethical questions, but it could also position us more humbly within the whole circle of life. And here in DC, child of the district that I am, child of my mother that I am, all of this is going to require an application of democracy. Not just voting, but how do we choose to live together and practice power together? Not just receive software updates from on high, but determine if, how, and when we're going to use this technology. Dr. Raman Chowdhury came on our show and showed us how everyday people can be involved in testing systems that actually affect their lives through bias bounties and red teaming of everyday folks. Verity Harding came on and reminded us that AI is just us. It's trained on us, sometimes without consent, but here we are looking at this mirror. So we should assume that we have a role to play in shaping its future. And in the most hands-on sense, we've seen this marriage of an ancient technology, democracy without elected politicians. I know that sounds really tasty right now, but the idea that regular citizens, through something called a citizen assembly, can gather and deliberate with expert facilitation to determine their future together, and that AI, a version of it born out of the MIT Media Lab Center for Constructive Communication, and this project called Cortico, can be used as a tool amongst a group like this and ones even more diverse to help us see what we have in common, to help us literally cross lines of language and culture and class so that we can determine this future together. So much of the way we speak about the future determines how that future unfolds. We in this room want that to be shared. And I think that we have this opportunity to shift the dialogue away from prompting machines. So much of this AI talk is, what can the machine do for me? Can it write my emails faster? Sure it can. Can it affect my job? Yes, but AI is not taking your job. People are making decisions using AI that are going to affect your future employment or not. The prompt really is turned around to us. What do we want? What is our opportunity to deepen our relationship with ourselves, with each other, with the wider world around us? That is what today is about. We're going to be on a beautiful journey through science, through art, through divinity, through romance, and more to try to create that shared future. So buckle up, take a deep breath with me right now. Let's go. Inhale and let it out. I know this can be a very tense and touchy subject. I also know that we, ultimately, the people, have the power to shape it. So please enjoy the rest of your day, and please welcome to the stage Vilas Dhar, president of the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, one of the co-hosts of Shared Futures, the AI Forum. Vilas, come on down. A human hug.
Oh my gosh, what an inspiring start to the morning. Thank you, Baratunde. You know, I want to meet Blair and have a whole conversation, but I only want a hug from the real, in the flesh, Baratunde Thurston. Thank you so much. Everybody, good morning, and to everybody who's joining us from the live stream, it is a delight to have you here. I want to tell you that when I grew up, I actually wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a poet. I wanted to be a creative. I was fascinated by complexity. I wanted to understand why the world was such a messy place, and in it, how we could find our own way through it in a way that wasn't just efficient, but could give us joy. Then I went to become a computer scientist, and I'll tell you that for 2 decades, I learned how to live in the binary, the zeros and ones, the engineering decisions. I trained students and employees on how we took a world of complexity and reduced it down to something that was simple, that was easy, that was efficient, that let us do things that were quite exceptional. And then I realized that we took the binary and we applied it to so much else in our world. We started talking about things as if they were one or the other. We talked about AI as if it was going to be the Skynet that killed us all or the thing that saved us all. We talked about innovation as if it couldn't exist with regulation. We talked about opportunities as if they were oppositional to risks. I realized a decade ago that I no longer wanted to live in the world of binary when we talked about technology, that there was something more, what we now at the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation call the capacity to imagine forward, to break the rules that say it's either A or B and instead say, what do we actually want it to be? What are we inspired by? So in many ways, that's what today is about. Again, I want to join Baratunde, and soon my dear friend Vivian will join me here to welcome you all in a different kind of conversation. One that's not about the heaviness of policy or about the decision we have to make today. It's not a question about what technology will do for us, but who we aspire to be when we get to dig down into what makes us human. Our empathy, our connectivity, I hope our kindness? How does art give us not just a place for expression, but a way to shape the power to shape a new society? And to do that, we've done what we always enjoy. We've gone across the world and pulled our very best friends, the people who inspire us every day. Today, you're going to hear from people who will teach us how to dream, how to design, how to build, and maybe as we get to the end of the day, even how we think about how we love. Not a conversation about AI, a conversation about humanity, a conversation about our shared future. This is my favorite thing that I've gotten to do in years, and we're here with some really amazing people. Our partners across the foundation, across Aspen Digital, so many of whom have traveled across the world to be here with us in person, so many that are following us online, so many that I think will be a part of this conversation for years to come. I want to thank very quickly our incredible teams that have put this event on, the folks here at The Reach, at Aspen Digital, at the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation. I want to thank you all, and I want you to invite you to join me in just one thing, which is not an experience of passively listening, but the thing that I plan to do with you to engage in a moment of childlike wonder as we see the beauty that AI can help humans create. I want to thank you all. I want to introduce my very dear friend, one of the most brilliant people I know, an incredible colleague, Vivian Schiller from Aspen Digital, to join me in sharing a welcome. And thank you all.
Thank you so much, Vilas. Thank you so much. As you heard from Vilas, we're trying to do something a little bit different here. We looked around at a lot of the convenings. There are a lot of different convenings around about AI out there. We looked around and we realized that so many of them are dealing with sort of the tech companies or other issues, but very few have showcased the ways that AI is with us today. And AI is very much with us today, all day, every day, whether you know it or not. It's with us in filmmaking, in music, in art, in our most intimate relationships, in our spiritual lives, in the way we build public spaces, and so much more. And that's what we're going to showcase today. We hope if we do play our cards right, then you will leave here feeling sort of inspired, excited, maybe a little bit concerned about a few things, that's okay, but motivated to understand better the way that AI exists in our world, and as Vilas said, how we keep ourselves in the driver's seat, because the decisions are about us. AI is not making those decisions for us. There are so many people to thank for today, including the wonderful staffs of Aspen Digital and the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation and the terrific people at The Reach. But I want to say a special thank you to the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, which has made all of this possible. And especially, I'm glad he's not on stage because I'm going to embarrass him, especially to Vilas, who is not just a philanthropic leader, but himself really a visionary about AI and how it exists and the role that it plays in our lives around the world, really focusing on AI for the public good and not the public for AI.